Thousands of children and families in Marion County struggle with issues like poverty, substance abuse, or mental and emotional illness. Many local services exist to help families in crisis, but families often don't know about these services or can't get to them. Unmet needs can result in child abuse, neglect, or juvenile delinquency. The Early Intervention Planning Council, through the Marion County Commission on Youth's Early Intervention and Prevention Initiative, has created a plan to give families earlier access to services in the hopes of reducing the number of children who get abused or neglected or turn to delinquent acts. We hope you enjoy our monthly program, Our Kids, Our Families, Our Communities, and learn more about the local services here to help you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Our Kids, Our Families, Our Communities. I'm Shana Martin, the director of the EIP initiative at McCoy. And thank you for joining us and tuning in. Today's topic is going to be about bullying. October is Bullying Prevention Month, so I have a couple of community experts here to talk to us a lot about bullying, what's going on in the community, what programs they have to offer to prevent bullying, and how parents can get involved, and how kids can learn more and be a little bit more active and engaged in their community around the topic of bullying. So I'm going to let you guys just start. Thank you for being here today, introducing yourselves and talking a little bit about your organization and your program.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it being here. It is indeed an honor because we are looking at awareness during Bullying Prevention Month. I'm Kimberly Ewing. I am a certified OVEAS bullying prevention trainer, and I'm also a certified diversity inclusion trainer, and I also specialize in leadership and motivational speaking and life coach. So what we do is actually go into the schools and we train faculty, staff, students, parents, community leaders in the area of bullying prevention, leadership, diversity, inclusion, and all sorts of fun stuff.
Okay. Thank you for being here, Kimberly.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having me as well, and it's an honor to be here with Kimberly because I've seen some of her trainings and they are pretty amazing. My name is Burton Patterson. I work for a Social Health Association, and what I do is teach a program called Step Up for Kindness, and that program goes into schools and we do bullying prevention with grades K through 8, and we focus on compassion and empathy, and we feel that by teaching kids empathy, we are able to change a culture of bullying and violence in schools.
Okay, well thank you both for being here. Really appreciate it again and looking forward to digging into this topic a little bit more. We've had a couple of episodes where we've talked about bullying in different capacities and different levels. You know, a couple years ago the bullying legislation, or bullying law as they call it, was passed, and McCoy's public policy director was pretty instrumental in helping to write some of that legislation and was just really engaged and involved. So we tried to raise some awareness that this was happening. It was sort of raising the profile of bullying in our community, how often it happens, how it's impacting our kids and families, and just really, and I think since then there's been a lot that's been done, and that was a couple of years ago. And then last year we focused on the connection between bullying and domestic violence, and so now I really want to focus on what's happening on the ground. In the schools, in the communities around bullying, how much more work needs to be done, what's being done, how aware are we, do we know the facts, are they true, and how are the schools responding, because in a lot of ways bullying is really focused on what's kind of going on in school, so how are they responding and what's happening. So if you could just talk a little bit about, you know, kind of what is bullying, and how is it impacting our kids today?
Sure.
Want to get that?
Sure.
Well, I can share with you, and then I know he can really kind of expand on that a little bit, but it is really just a repeated offense that happens over and over again. It's an imbalance of power. It's unwanted. So when someone actually comes to you and touches you or hurts you or harms you or words, and basically you're like, no, that's not okay, and they continue to do it again, we refer to that as bullying behavior. Now, it doesn't mean that it happens to happen several times for it to be bullying behavior. It can happen one time, be considered bullying behavior, but it's something that we try to make sure that we educate everyone on. And in addition to that, what we also find is that it just goes into name calling. It could be exclusion, isolation, and it can happen in groups. It can happen one-on-one. It can happen child to child, adult to adult, adult to child. Child to adult, you name it. So would you like to expand on that?
Absolutely. And one of the things that we run into in schools is that when I'm talking to faculty in an IPS school, they often say children don't really know what bullying is. And our goal is to really educate them on what bullying is. And she's absolutely correct. If they start to exhibit that behavior, that is bullying behavior. But it's important for us when we go into a classroom to say, if I make fun of somebody one time, is that bullying? And I'll have a lot of heads nodding their head saying yes. A couple kids will always say, no, that's not. And I'll ask them, why is that not bullying?
Okay.
And they'll say, that's not bullying because you didn't do it repeatedly. And that's very important for me to see, is that some children know that what bullying is. And I think when they hear it from their peers, it's very important that they understand it's more than one time. It's absolutely repeatedly over and over again. So when we go into schools, we teach them that. We teach them the 4 types of bullying, which are physical, verbal, social, and cyber.
Okay.
And we make sure that they know bullying is not just physical. It's not something that just happens with when one person touches another person. It happens on the internet. It happens with our phones. It happens verbally when people are making fun of each other. And it also happens with groups. When a group excludes someone intentionally, that's social bullying. So when we go into a school, we make sure that they know these things as a baseline.
Okay.
And then from there, we're able to focus on kindness and empathy.
Okay. Great. So you establish the awareness, like what is it?
Right.
And then
Exactly.
how
That's
to
very
prevent
important.
it. Okay. What are some of the statistics? How prevalent is this happening in our schools? Do you guys have any of those? I know-
Well, I think that's really going to vary.
Okay.
Because what we find is that with our program, the Ovea's Bullying Prevention Program, we don't say that we're going to get rid of bullying, right? It is a reduction that we're looking at, and it's the awareness that comes with it. But we do know in our studies that we have more kids with empathy and sympathy, but they need to be empowered to know that.
Okay.
We have a very small number of kids who actually do the bullying, but when you take a look at it, it looks like a big picture, right? Because you got this 1 or 2 or groups that are absolutely terrorizing the school. And then you have a huge population that doesn't know what to do with it. Just like he stated, we go into the schools and make sure that we train faculty, staff, students, parents, community leaders. One thing that we actually do is with the Ovea's training is we have a bullying circle that I do with our breakout sessions. Well, when I go in and train the faculty and staff, and I like to show them exactly the role everyone plays. So, for example, we'll put the child that is actually being bullied in the middle. And then we'll have going all the way around this circle the person with the bullying behavior, the person that is the supporter and follower, the disengaged onlooker, the person that is going to be the passive person that just says, you know, I want to support, I don't know what to do. And then, of course, we're going to have our defender. And what we do is we show the role that everyone plays. But what we do know after we get through with that, majority of the people on that spectrum, they actually want to do something. They just don't know what to do, right?
Okay.
So what we do is we say, hey, listen, we want to give you some tools, just like what we shared. We want to give you tools to be able to empower yourself to speak up, tell a teacher, tell a friend. How can you pull that person away from a dangerous situation? How you can share it with your parents, because most kids don't share, right? They're not telling. So we can get them out of that danger and empower them. We can tell them. So the numbers overall are really huge of kids that aren't doing the bullying, but when it does happen, we go into cyberbullying. These kids are taping it, and now what we've done is we've released it out there on social network. And so it looks a whole lot bigger. But what we do know is our programs work, but it has to be done with fidelity. So if you're going to bring one of us in and have us spend time with you, we ask that you follow the program completely. And that's just bringing awareness, and that's empowerment.
Okay. Okay.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to add to that?
I agree with what you said completely. Fidelity is very important. That's the congruency of our programs. It's very important for not only the faculty but the students to get that as well. And when they're receiving these programs, we feel that it does make a difference. It makes a difference in the culture of the school, and it makes a difference for the staff as well, because now they're seeing students that could have been a bystander at some point being an upstander. And that's empowering for them to see, not just for the student to be an upstander, it's empowering for the staff to see as well, that it's truly the kid making a responsible decision, a healthy choice.
Okay.
The other piece that we also like to share is making sure that our parents are empowered.
Okay.
Because that's the key. They're the glue, right? So if we make sure that we're all on the same team, then that means that the kids are going to communicate with their parents. Parents can communicate with us. There's no bad kid, because even when we have a child that's exhibiting bullying behavior, I said exhibiting bullying behavior, right? We're not calling them a bully because we don't want to do any labeling. Because usually these kids, they have great leadership skills. We can turn that around. So when we share it with the parent, then we make sure that we're on the same team, then we can make sure that we empower both kids so no one is left out in that leadership role. And that's really, really huge with our program. And the other thing is to exhibit it. So we ask our faculty and staff, if you know for a fact you might have bullying behavior, we have to be good examples for our kids. So it has to happen at home and it has to happen at school. Those are very important components.
Okay. So how do parents talk to their kids, or how do they educate, raise awareness with their kids, or open up those lines of communication that if their child is exhibiting bullying behaviors or the recipient of those bullying behaviors, what do parents do? How do they know this?
And I think Kimberly has touched on that a little bit, is that it's effective communication. I think that's the key to all of this, is effective communication. The more open lines of communication between a parent and a student, or a parent and faculty, that makes a huge difference, because they're able to see signs at home saying, this happened, can you keep an eye out for my student because this happened at home? Or the teacher saying, this happened here, can you keep an eye out at home because I want you to observe this behavior? And that's a very key role in reducing bullying in schools.
Right. It's just as simple as saying, how was your day? We're going to have dinner tonight. Take a walk around the park. What can we do to be able to open up with our kids? Because a lot of times what we're missing is, just like he stated, just basic communication. So if we can get them to open up and share and do the simple thing that is so hard to do for some kids, especially the teenagers, right? The teenagers, how was your day? Oh, it was great, it was good. No, what's the day? Right. So we get these kids to open up, talk to us, share, how was your day? Did you have a good day? How's your teacher? Who are your friends? And because what we find out is they start opening up, and maybe they can share with us a little bit more about what's going on in school. And maybe they're not being bullied. Maybe they know someone who's being bullied, right? Now they're feeling powerless, because we have to understand, like you said, we're talking about changing the culture. So we've got that affecting the whole school. It could be a child that's not being bullied, but because of the fact they're seeing it, there's damage going on too.
Sure.
Everyone is being affected. So with this program of being an upstander, right? We're getting kids to say, hey, that's not acceptable. I'm going to tell my mom, because I have it now, or my dad, because I have great communication. I'm going to tell a brother or a sister. I'm going to tell a trusted teacher or an advisor. Tell someone. That's our goal.
And as a parent, it's also being aware of your child's kind of behavior and picking up on signals. Sure. I was reading some of the statistics I think on your website that says, 1 in 20 students drop out because of bullying. 25% of students report being bullied, so there are a large number of children who are experiencing this. Students skip school to avoid bullying. So, when you have a child who starts complaining of stomach aches or headaches, what we call like psychosomatic stuff, or they seem overly stressed, and that's the time to start asking those questions. Right. We've talked about that throughout, that's the theme of this show. It's always underlined when you're talking about prevention, it's always about open communication and paying attention to what your kids are, the signs, the symptoms, the things that are just not right, and start asking those kind of questions.
Yes.
And it's funny, I challenge my students in the classes that I go to, when we talk about cyberbullying and we talk about technology, I don't ever like to paint a bad picture of technology, because it's great. We all use technology every day, but I challenge them consistently. We all have our faces down in our phones. I asked them, what would it look like if you went home and you had a conversation with your parent? If all of a sudden you looked up from your phone and you just started having a conversation. A lot of them start laughing. They were like, they'll probably think I'm crazy. Like all of a sudden I just look up from my phone and I start having a conversation. But that's very important. Keeping that communication open, not relying so much on text messaging or things that we use through technology, but actually having that one-on-one or person-on-person communication.
And the other thing to pay attention to is something that we really don't like to talk about, not just the issues of health, but then we have thoughts of suicide. And then we do have suicides. So we really do have a human element to this that can be very tragic if we do not address it. So at the end of the day, we can have policies, we can have procedures, we can say, you know what, it's just the right thing to do. We're talking about saving lives, right? So when we're empowering our kids, we're empowering our parents and faculty and staff, we have to remember these are lives that we have to make a difference on. And get our kids to speak up. That is really what it's really all about at the end of the day.
That's that's powerful, and you're right. And the open lines of communication is important, because I think as a parent, you know, working with the schools, just being open in that communication and not getting upset and flying off the handle. Things happen.
Right.
You know, kids are kids, but the most important thing is to, once it's brought up, to work through that and to communicate and to talk about it, and not be so quick to jump on other parents or the school or the kids, but to really take time to find out what's going on. Because like you've described, is bullying is it's not just one-on-one between one kid, but there's lots of other factors and people that play a role in it, knowingly or unknowingly, intentionally or unintentionally, that at some point or another have the opportunity to step in. And being more empathetic and being that defender are the roles that we need people to start stepping up into. So,
and you kind of brought something up too when you say, you know, really investigate that. You know, don't just assume. You know, you were talking about communicate with your kids. So we have to interview. We have to interview each other, because we'll sit back and say, oh, kids are just being kids. In the meantime, you have no idea that that child is being terrorized on a daily basis. Or it could just be a friend, right? And they just decided, oh, I'm mad at you. And we assume down the hall that that's bullying, and they're just upset at each other. But we can't always put them in the same category. You know, by communicating and investigating and find out exactly what's going on, that's really the key too.
Okay. So are your programs only offered in school settings, or do you have programs that go out into the community? How do people tap into those? Did you go first?
Sure. So our mainly Step Up for Kindness is in schools. We also do after-school programs, and we do summer programs as well. So we're year-round for Step Up for Kindness. Social Health offers various programs throughout the year for human growth and development, and also making a difference. So we focus on schools. That's our primary focus, is really getting through to the kids and making them feel like they're empowered and they can make a difference, because that's important.
So do you do training for the adults also, or just the kiddos?
We don't do training for adults. We do a parent night. I believe we are in over 15 schools for parent nights. In the parent night, we explain the programs and we ask them if they're interested in finding out more information about our programs. But we mainly work with the children.
And I go everywhere.
Okay.
I'm busy. I'm all over the community. I actually train lots of schools. I train faculty, staff, students, parents, do a lot of parents' nights, a lot of conferences I've been doing lately and speaking there. This is where I met this really wonderful gentleman. And in addition to that, I also go out in the community and speak at a lot of events that are out there. So wherever there are kids and there's a need and someone picks up the phone and says, Kimberly Ewing, we need you, I'm there, because I want to make sure that we're giving them the information that they need to be successful when it comes to bullying prevention and just overall awareness. So that's exciting to be able to do.
Deal. Well, I think like I said, the information and awareness has really, the last couple of years, has kind of exploded in Indianapolis, and the opportunities for programming and organizations that are doing such great work. It's really been good to see, and my hope is it's having a very positive impact on the kids and families in our communities. Now, let's talk a little bit about somebody's website talked about a bullying reporting system that's anonymous.
Yes, that would be the Bully Box.
Okay.
So many IPS schools are starting to develop what's called the Bully Box.
Okay.
And when we talk about being a bystander, oftentimes someone is a bystander because they're afraid of becoming the target. So they don't say anything, they don't tell anyone, because they're afraid that they are going to become the target. So I love this idea that IPS schools have of putting an anonymous box, either in the social worker's office or in the office, that a student can just write down a note, fold it up and put it in there, and no one knows that they're the person who told. So it keeps them completely anonymous, but now the faculty know that this person is being bullied or this is taking place somewhere. So I love that idea.
That is great. That's great.
I do too. I think it really, really helps young people to be able to have a voice, because a lot of times he's right. They're in fear too. I don't want to be next. I don't want to get involved. And it is a culture. Think about it. We do it in our culture. You know, a lot of people see something, I didn't see anything, I don't know what's going on, you know, because you're afraid that you're going to be the next person. But with that, it really makes a difference for a kid to be able to say, you know what, I have a voice. Now, some people may be concerned or wonder if some child's doing it as a prank, and now some kid is being set up. This is where it comes to good interview skills, right? We can actually find out. Even with anonymous tips to police, they do the same thing.
Yeah, you're
They
right.
interview. So no one should be scared. No one should be worried if it's going to be a backlash. If anything, it can be a good thing. We'll find out that it was just exactly that. It was a prank, or it was something that we really need to dive into that we can save a child's life. And I like to say that in a big picture because sometimes we forget about that.
Yeah, yeah, and you're right. And you're right. I mean, one of the links to suicide is our kids who are being
Exactly.
victimized or in some shape, form, or fashion, and
Exactly.
often it's bullying because they've been afraid to tell or didn't feel like they could tell or talk to somebody.
Right.
And everybody else who's aware of it, because like
Sure.
I said, these are not isolated incidents that nobody else is aware of.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
think I like how you pointed that out, that there's a circle that surrounds bullying.
It's
and
a
And
very
the people
big
in that circle, it can lead to higher crime rates and higher dropout rates too. And I like that you brought up the stigma that sometimes is attached to telling someone. We often talk in grades K through 3, we talk about what's the difference between tattling and reporting bullying, because that's very important. They don't want to be labeled as a tattletale. And we tell them that tattling is where you're just trying to get someone in trouble. There's nothing serious going on, you just want to get that person in trouble. When you're reporting bullying, like you said, you're potentially saving someone's life. And that's a very, very serious thing.
I was at a conference yesterday speaking, and we did the bullying circle. The bullying circle, of course, I was able to get a lot of our administrators up out of their seats, and they participated just like the students do. The person that actually played the role as the one being bullied, after we got through with the session, it was a guy. Nice guy like him. Nice beard. A man's man. Broke down crying. He broke down crying. He started to remember that it happened to him when he was a child. There was a man behind him that started to tear up. The guys began to say, you know what, this happened to me. And I'm still hurting, just that the memory of it, it lingers with us into adulthood. 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I've heard of people in their 80s talk about when they were bullied. So even if we don't get scars physically, we'll have the scars here in our heart that we have to carry with us. And that's something that we hope to reduce. And if we can get rid of it, that a child doesn't have to go through that down the line. To me, that's powerful.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And then also what we've talked about in one of the other episodes is that typically children that are exhibiting bullying behaviors, they have stuff going on with them too.
Yep.
You know, kids
Absolutely.
don't just wake up one day and
Absolutely.
decide to go,
Yeah.
you know, randomly bully somebody and pick on them and make their life miserable.
Right.
Typically it's because that child is also experiencing something, which is why we did the show that connected domestic violence and
Right.
bullying. That kids may be in environments where that's what they're seeing, that's what they're experiencing, that's what's happening to them. And so they play that out in school, because if that's what the people you live with and in your environment is happening, then what's,
Yeah.
you know, why do you think that
Sure.
there's anything wrong with that, and you're simply doing what's being done to you? So also keeping that in mind, especially when you're talking about being empathetic, that you know, a lot of times perpetrators have been or are victims themselves,
And some aren't.
and some aren't. That's
Some
true.
aren't.
Some aren't.
Some just like to bully.
Sure.
True.
You know?
Oftentimes
Yes.
people bully because somebody is different than them.
Right.
Just because they're different.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't want to admit, they're like, wow, they're just doing it because it makes them feel good. And that's really sad with our culture, right?
That's true.
So I bully you, and it made me feel good to bully you, and I have power.
Power, yeah.
It is about power and control. So we'll have children that have seen it at home and they'll act it out, and we have some that said, you know what, I like the way that felt. I'm in control. I have some power. But regardless, between he, myself, we can change that behavior.
We are.
Right.
Yeah.
We are.
Burton said,
change
we are
that
every day.
behavior. Yeah.
What kind of reception do you get from the kiddos? What do you hear from kids? Are they taking this in, understanding it? Do you get the opportunity? You guys are pretty new, I think, at doing this, but have you seen class? So you did first grade last year, and you have the same
Right.
kids again for second grade, and the same kids. And what are
We
you
do
seeing?
see growth. The biggest, I get a lot of feedback from students when the biggest compliment I can get is when they're happy when I come back.
Okay.
When they're like, I can't wait until you come back for our next visit, or I can't wait to see you again next year when I'm in another grade. That for me means a lot because we do a lot of activities focused around kindness and empathy. And we really try and instill those values in them. And like you said, if you're empathetic towards a person, you're thinking about, why is this person acting like this? Why are they acting in this aggressive way? And for younger kids, it may be a little bit harder for them to understand that. But we talk about treating each other with kindness. How can you be kind to your friend? How does it make you feel when someone says something nice to you? How does it make you feel when you say something nice to somebody else? And they really get that. They understand that. And it makes them feel good when we do an activity where they all say something nice about each other.
Okay.
It makes them feel really good, and we get warm responses from that. And I love teaching the younger kids, the kindergarten, first grade, because we read to them, and their responses to our books that we read are always great. We always have a great response from them. They really get into it. If you've been around younger kids, you know that they love to count. And a few of our books do some counting, and they love to jump in and throw their own counting into the story. So it's a lot of fun teaching them. And our older kids, we talk about prejudice and stereotypes, and we're able to focus on issues that are taking place in our world today. And we talk about that. Why do people bully people because they're different?
Yeah.
Why is this taking place? Why are we not accepting everyone for who they are? Not expecting them to change who they are, but truly accepting who they are as a person.
And with our program, of course, I get to have a lot of fun too. I do the bullying prevention kickoff after we train the faculty and staff for 2 days.
Okay.
And I'll come back to the school and I'll do their kickoff and I'll educate the kids and get them excited and really let them know that the role what they play is very, very, very important.
Okay.
Then what's really cool about the program, once I leave for it to be done with fidelity, there's a classroom meetings matter that are done, should be done every week. That is in charge for every grade. And so that teacher will lead it. They'll have an open discussion with the kids and sit down and talk about bullying, and sometimes maybe not. It just gives them a dialogue to be able to open up. And they'll have a nice little schedule that they can do and actually execute every week, which
That's
is
awesome.
really,
I
really.
didn't know that was your program. I've seen that in schools before. The Classroom Matters.
Yeah.
They're like, we're going to talk about this in our Classroom Matters.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
that's
it
very cool.
helps for the upstanders, right?
Yeah.
To be able to make a difference. Our goal is to bring that back in style, right? Make that popular, being kind, being nice, having a voice, making a difference, saying, no, that's not nice, don't do that. We want to be able to empower the kids so that way when the teacher turns their back, leave the classroom, we've got them actually looking out for each other, right? So that makes all the difference in the world. And the classroom meeting matters really, really helps out a great deal. And
So that's
we
a
do
curriculum
see,
that's used throughout the year, or
Yes.
it's kind of part of the, like I said, becomes part of the culture and the infrastructure. It's what we do in
Exactly.
class every week.
Exactly. And that's through Hazelton Publishing where we use those books.
Okay.
And what's really neat about it is that we find a difference and change in culture. You know, so this is something that's actually documented. What I love about the Ovea's Bullying Prevention Program, it is evidence-based.
Okay.
So that makes all the difference in the world.
Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. I'm on
Thank you for having us.
overload here. Lots of great information, very helpful. Love the passion and the excitement. Important topic.
Yes.
And important as a parent myself, I always have to remember all the things I need to be talking to my kids about.
Sure.
It's a
Yeah.
lot, but I think
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, it's just opening up that communication. Whether or
Exactly.
not it's on a particular topic or an issue, it's just talking to your kids, being involved, asking them questions, and letting them know that you care,
Yeah.
and asking their friends questions too, which my
Yeah,
daughter can't
that's
stand,
important
but
too.
I'm
That's
asking them
important.
questions
Yeah,
too.
that's the truth.
Yeah.
That is very true.
So thank you guys so much, and really
you.
appreciate you taking the time to come share all of your knowledge with us and expertise, and continue to do all the great work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Well,
If
thank
any
you for having
parents
us.
are looking for resources, they can go to our website, like you mentioned a few times,
Okay.
socialhealth.org.
Okay.
We update our website continually, and we have links to videos and
Good stuff.
different articles posted, a lot of information for them.
Okay.
And for me, if they want to, they can actually Google Kimberly Ewing and
Okay.
put in bullying. They'll find a lot of stuff out there, or they can go directly to my website, which is KDE Motivates. KDEmotivates.com.
Okay.
And they can find a lot of resources out
Everybody
there too.
knows you.
Well, thank
I paid
you.
him to say that.
Well, thank you, viewers, for tuning in to another episode of Our Kids, Our Families, Our Communities. October is Bullying Prevention Month, and I just challenge you to take some time to learn more about bullying and to talk to your kids about it. So thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you next time.